Sustainability is the capacity to endure. Its main objective is to continue our human and non-human existence. It is the ability to perform for long-term maintenance of well-being, which is environmental, economic, and social dimensions. As humans, we often find it a challenge to move towards this goal, which entails the decision-makings of both international and national law, urban planning and transport, local and individual lifestyles, as well as ethical consumerism.
I thought that it really drew my attention to the real-world applications that are going on right now in the crisis that we're in with the lack of fossil fuels and how kind of everything is starting to move to a more green environment, and I wanted to know more information about that. Yes, definitely. I think that by taking the course that I took with Matt Burnett, Sustainability Design, and kind of mixing my major and the knowledge I gained from his class together, I think that's what our future is going to hold. I think that's what the students need to start learning.
Preservation is a little too far out of our grasp at this point. Forests have been bulldozed, landscapes have been changed. The idea of preserving, I think, is long past. And people have to live. I mean, let's face it, people have to live. So preservation is a little bit further from my belief than conservation. Conservation to me is trying to take what we have without completely annihilating everything and using up every resource, but still live. So I would go with that idea. That's more of my core than preservation is. Years ago, I used to fix up cars, antique cars and stuff like that. That was a preservation type thing. But to take what we had, like an old car, and bring it back to what it was, I think we're too far past that. So conservation, I think, is more in fitting with today.
That will put out more than every panel on this property.
I can see the magnets on the back of
You see that disc? There's a disc that's spinning, right?
Yep.
And the wind hits just right. See the yellow thing up there, the yellow disc in the middle?
Yep.
That's not spinning. That actually contains the wire and the coils. And the two green discs on either side, just that little wadded thing that's back there, so it's a weight. Okay, on those two things there are magnets on each side of the wire. And that's what's creating current right now. This group and the other group are pairs of panels. So 24 volt, 24 volt, 24 volts, wired that way. Higher voltage means you can use smaller wire. When I started out all 12 volts, see this jumper cable? Yeah, it's expensive. The jumper cable runs, I have so many jumper cables running in the house, that's expensive. The new way of thinking is wire them in series like flashlight batteries, use higher voltage, smaller wire. So that's where the speaker wire comes in. So anyway, this particular deck is 3 at a shot. So it's actually like 36 volts, it's actually more than that. At one time I had them all wired together in series and it was like 105 volts. And you literally could run it through, I don't know, your phone wire. So anyway, all the garbage outside that you just saw, it has to be regulated.
Do we need to get in here and close the door? Or?
You can if you want, it's not gonna hurt anything. White van, the first white van, the juice comes into here, and the trailer where the Hayabusa is comes into here. Each one of these will control its own bank of solar. The bank out there where the Hayabusa was, has got 61 volts coming in, but these things are smart enough to wind this down to 12 volts or 14 or whatever the battery wants. And these things are kind of neat. They'll log watt hours for the day, amp hours, kilowatt hours produced, and they'll log it back for 30 days. They're kind of neat. And these are the brains of it. These things are what keeps the batteries from blowing up. And they do it automatically. You don't even have to touch them. They're fun to look at, but you really don't have to monkey with them at all. That little noise you're hearing, that's the wind generator. When the wind generator's on, see that little computer fan up there? Mm-hmm. That kicks on, the wind generator powers that, and it cools this rectifier. The rectifier is what's in your car alternators. Every car alternator has one in the back. What this does is these 3 wires come in from the wind generator, it's what they call three-phase power. And that's not really important, but it goes into the rectifier. This converts it to DC, because remember I told you this is a DC system? So the DC comes out like your car, red and black, and then these two big fat wires go right down into the battery bank, the same as all the solar panels do and all that stuff. And all this does is serve the purpose of is to cool this down so it doesn't overheat. That's all that does. This is the voltage coming off the wind generator right now, and when the wind slows down, this will go. You'll hear the fan go. That's what that does. And this will be the amps output. See the wind's coming down?
Oh yeah, it's kind of pushing it apart.
Right. Wind picks up, it's going to take back off again. Now, I don't have to really have too much of a regulator on the wind generator, because if this puts out a lot of power, right, these are smart enough to taper back, right? Because I got sun out right now, I can't use the power. So if you look, well, the battery's full, so I'm kind of screwed there. But anyway, if there was something being put out on one of these, you'd see it go back down to zero as this puts out more. So they work harmoniously, is what they do.
Well, I never heard of that.
Yep. And there they are. And each one of these, they go from here right to the floor. And each one of them, they're 220 pounds of whack. And you know your little flashlight batteries? Those are 1.5 volts. These are 2 volts apiece. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There's your 12 volts. They're just wired in series. And these are actually made for this application. These are
deep
solar.
cycle.
Yeah,
Right?
these
they
are
deep
true.
cycle?
These are true deep cycle solar batteries. That's why they're so big. They're almost in nature the same as what the telephone company uses. If the telephone company loses power, their phones still have to work. They have racks and racks and racks and racks of batteries to keep their phone companies working. And most of them have a clear plastic shell, and you can see the fins in them and the acid and all that. These are the solar application type. But anyway, that's all they are. That's it. That's the batteries. These are a special cap that goes on the top. They look like this. You can hear it inside.
Yeah.
And what these caps do, they're magic. If you put a regular battery cap on here, when these things charge, they bubble. Wow.
I would like to empower people if this is what they want to do. There's a big difference. But my personal belief is things can't keep going the way they are. You don't have to buy into the green movement. You don't. But things can't keep going the way that they are. So a question I ask to a lot of groups is, what is it going to take to change your behavior if you don't like $5 a gallon gas, if you don't like high electric bills, if you don't. And the response I get, and this is straight across the board from young people, old people, whatever, is they're going to drive this machine right into the ground. They are only going to change their behavior when something like gas does not exist. And I find that very unfortunate. Me personally, I do want to empower people, and the only way I can do this possibly is to lead by example. It's one thing to theorize, it's another thing to do it. So my latest escapade that you guys saw was that electric powered bike. And that is my latest drive to try to bring people to awareness. It's attractive, it's something that's wrapped in a better piece of wrapping paper than what's at my home. It's mobile, so it's going to draw a lot of attention, and it's going to show, and I won't quit, that type of transportation is viable in this area. And I hope that once people see it, and they see it enough, they will begin to entertain these type of thoughts. Because the option of not doing anything like this in any way, shape, or form is, in my opinion, going to be disastrous. Even if you don't believe in the green movement, the agenda is being pushed. So, if nobody is willing to change, you have to think down the road, what are the consequences for it?
Hey, I'm Rob Dutcher. I've been a student here at Gloria SUNY Canton for about 3 years now. I started out my schooling in engineering science and figured I would, it was kind of a open-ended type of degree, so looking to figure out what kind of field I was going to go into. So I decided on SUNY Canton because they had an alternative renewable energy systems curriculum. And that's a mouthful. I've had to say that quite often. People come up and ask me on campus and everything. I almost regret it just on that basis alone. But yeah, altogether it's been a pretty cool school and whatnot. My last semester here, had the option of getting involved in this new course that was being offered called sustainability design. And that really kind of perked my interest. It was kind of not familiar with it at all. It's kind of an open-ended curriculum. We just kind of sat around and shot the bull about what we thought was wrong with the world and how we could solve it and whatnot, especially from an environmental standpoint, getting people involved. And so we started coming up with these ideas for projects, semester-long projects. And my chief concern living on the dorms was kind of recyclables and littering and whatnot, which if you've ever been in front, there's plenty of cigarette butts. They're pretty prevalent. That would be something to incorporate. But I figured the number one problem was not having any kind of trash cans during the winter, because most of them have to get removed for snow removal purposes. So introduce to you this beautiful design here, which I was fortunate enough to actually get off the ground this semester. I had a lot of help from facilities doing it. You're actually amazingly helpful in getting this. Is just a prototype, just be noted. Trying to work on one that would have more of a peak, so it could shed any snow or rain or what have you, any kind of precipitation that might ultimately destroy it in the long run. So yeah, did this. Drew up designs and whatnot, collaborated a lot with a lot of the people over at facilities like Bruce Alexander and Doug Welch, who is the on-campus sustainability officer. It's kind of a strange title, but wonder if he has a badge. But yeah, that's pretty much, this is what I did all semester, really.
Alright, thanks.
I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm saying I'm willing to step up to the plate and try something. Because I just don't want to sit back and let the cards fall where they may.
It is obvious that the continuing efforts of sustainability call for immediate growth. This awareness project has been developed to enrich people, not only for their knowledge, but for them to take actions. The dawn of our existence may or may not become a reality. That all lies in the hands of us human beings working together as a network.